Hello friends, JT Tapias with the Empty Your Bucket Nutrition Plan, and today we're going to touch on a subject that I know for sure you are interested in: how to get your kids to eat healthy. I don't know about you, but if you've ever tried to go on a proper nutrition journey or a fitness journey, it's a struggle with your environment, right? The people you live with, especially your little ones. You're wondering, well, when I'm cooking all these healthy meals, how am I going to get my kids to eat? That's a question you've asked yourself. Today, I'm gonna give you some very simple but yet very powerful ways on how to get your kids to come on board. And so first and foremost, I wanna talk to you about the problem, right? The obesity problem in our country, which is overwhelming. I think it's important to understand that obesity, right, has many different factors. And I wanna touch on those before we get started here, because I think it's important, because oftentimes we think, well, I'm not eating all of these bad foods. I'm not sure why I'm gaining weight. And so I want to bring some clarity around the subject. And I want to start off with parental obesity. Parental obesity studies suggest that children of obese parents are more likely to be obese compared to children of non-obese parents. The risk increases further if both parents are obese. However, it's crucial to recognize that genetic and environmental and lifestyle choices all play an important role in obesity development. Things such as genetic factors, environmental influences, poor dietary patterns, sedentary lifestyles, emotional factors. But at the end of the day, we're gonna focus today on the things that we believe we can control. And so I wanna start with a story that really paints a picture of how I came to really understand some of these things. And I had a friend, a really close friend, who I saw for many years, pretty much every week. And he was obese. He was morbidly obese, and he struggled. He struggled a lot. I mean, I got to see him go through many different, he was sick all the time. He was constantly with lower back pain. He had high blood pressure. He had type 2 diabetes. Now, this was all self-inflicted based on lifestyle. And I would try to help him as much as possible, because at the time, we owned the gyms and we had all these nutrition programs, but he was sort of, he didn't feel very comfortable talking to me about these things. And yet he and I would engage in conversations, and I would try my best to try to give him the easiest things. And I would see him go on diets from time to time. I would come to his place and I'd see him eating salads, and I see him, trying to walk and do things, but shortly after that he would fall off. And one of the things he would say to me was, JT, I try so hard to do this, but my environment is difficult, because my kids, he had 3 kids and a wife, they were all obese, unfortunately. And so anytime he would try to do something, he would try to really bring about a change in his home, his kids were eating the things that he had taught him how to eat. His wife was also not eating healthy, and so it was very hard because his environment wasn't really supporting him. And so he would always go back to comfort food. He would always go back to junk food, because it was just the easy thing. Let's face it, going through a drive-through is very easy, right? And when you're hungry, it's the fastest thing to do. And he would try to make the best choices through the drive-through, but it was important. On top of that, he was a busy man. He was constantly working, right? He was stressed. He came from a cultural background which really put a lot of importance on, food, and not necessarily healthy food, but rice and beans and potatoes and pastas, all these high insulinogenic foods that were getting him in a lot of trouble. The man was about 60 to 70 pounds overweight, and he was just very sick. And it was interesting to see this happen for, 5-7 years that I got to see him week after week after week, because it was sad to see how his habits and his wife's habits were passed on to his kids. He had 3 kids. They were 2 years apart, and I got to see the older one, grow up, go to high school, and then go to college, and I got to see the weight just pack on year after year after year. The same thing happened with the second kid. Same thing happened with third kid. They're all obese. They're about 100 pounds overweight, each of them. Now, when you see one of them maybe gain some weight, you say, well, yeah, he kind of took after his dad and his mom. But when you see all 3 kids morbidly obese, you understand that this was literally passed on because of habits, right? Things that those kids saw growing up, they started to do themselves. So why am I telling you this? I'm telling you this because in the beginning of this video, I mentioned to you all the factors involved. But in 23 years of coaching people in fitness and nutrition and helping them change their lifestyle, there's one factor that I believe carries more weight than anything else, my friend, and that is called habits. Your habits, my friend, as a parent, are passed down to your kid. In religious circles, they call it a genetic curse, or they call it basically a generational curse. And a generational curse is basically mimicking patterns. We are communal learners. We learn from each other. And so, of course, in your environment, whatever it is you're doing, whatever it is you're saying, all the habits that you have are passed down to your kids. As a matter of fact, it is said that 70,000 hours worth of programming is passed down to your kids by the time they leave your home. This is an immense responsibility. I oftentimes say to parents, I said, be careful because you're shaping little hearts. And that doesn't just mean with morals and principles, but also with eating habits. And we have such a responsibility as parents to teach kids how to eat well, because otherwise we can teach them all the great things as parents, morals, principles, how to be productive citizens, how to love God and love people. But if we're not teaching them how to eat, my friend, this is as bad as possibly not teaching them about manners or morals or principles or to love God or to love people. It's right there. I mean, these things can take them down. That story that I mentioned, that sad story of my friend and his kids, this is now going to be passed on to their kids. And that is a generational curse, right? It's mimicking patterns. It's basically communal learning in the most negative way, right? And so we want to make sure that we pass down the right habits to our kids. We want to make sure that we're showing our kids the best side. And I have some ideas for you. You know, this is not an easy undertaking. I'm not here to say that this can happen overnight. This is something of persistence. This is something that is important. And I want to remind you that kids don't do what you tell them to do. I have 2 little ones and I can preach all I want, but truly they're watching me. They're watching me. And I'm not perfect by any means, but I make a serious effort to make sure that anytime I'm working out, I'm visible, right? So we have a gym in my backyard, and I make sure that when my girls are watching TV on a Saturday morning, they're seeing that outside exercise. And oftentimes I can go somewhere else and exercise, but the importance of them seeing me, right? Because even though they may not say anything there and then, that stays in the back of their mind, and it works in the back of their mind and their subconscious mind. And surely enough, eventually at some point in life, when these things become important to them, they'll remember. They'll say, I remember my dad working out. Their mom is always cooking healthy, right? Sometimes we want to eat some other things, and we enjoy those things as well. But we always make a point on the importance of eating healthy. We buy healthy food. We take all the things that are tempting out of the house, and we'll keep a thing or two, but we keep it put away so that we're not seeing it, right? I love the saying that a disciplined person is a person that spends less time under triggers and temptations. Think about that, right? A disciplined person is not just a naturally disciplined person, but someone who actually keeps temptation and triggers away, and hence the reason they are disciplined. And so, my friend, yes, I know this is a huge undertaking, but it is such an important one. And I just want to impress upon you the idea that you can change these things pretty quickly if you have the disposition to do so, okay? It is possible to retrain your taste buds. It is possible to start that change with you, right? You are the agent for change. You start that change process. You start to change your eating habits. You start to activate your physiology. And the idea here is to impress upon those little ones, those little hearts that you're shaping, maybe even your spouse, the idea and the importance of eating healthy and leaving a legacy of wellness for your kids and your kids' kids, because that's what a righteous man does. And so I want to give you 4 pointers. I want to give you 4 pointers here that I believe are going to help. And so we're going to do some what I call little tricks here that are going to allow for these things to start to happen. First and foremost, we must understand that regardless of how much or how little we know about nutrition, vegetables, I think we can all agree, are pretty healthy, right? So those green leafy veggies that don't look as yummy to your kids can be, disguised a little bit. So let's say broccolini. I love broccolini. I always love to say that broccolini is the cousin of broccoli. It's its Italian cousin. And so broccolini is amazing. If you don't know what it is, look it up in your local supermarket. Take some broccolini, take some non-fat American cheese. I know there's chemicals, there's things in there, but hear me out. We're starting with small steps. And then if you want to take your game to the next level and take away chemicals and you want to do all those things, you can, but we got to start somewhere. So you take the broccolini, you put some non-fat American cheese over it, right? You do a nice little lean protein, and you sort of disguise the green leafy veggie a little bit with the cheese, and it's helpful. So number one is making things look good, making things look colorful, because kids love color, right? They're receptive to that. You want to start adding some slow digesting carbs. Let me give you an example. So white rice peaks your insulin. Anytime you eat, you're peaking insulin. The difference is some foods peak more insulin than others. So we want to make sure that we're finding slow digesting carbs such as sweet potatoes, quinoa, couscous, dark pigmented fruit such as blueberries, strawberries, blackberry. We want to make sure that we are bringing legumes in, beans, lentils, garbanzos. These are slow digesting carbs. These also spike insulin, but the spike and the trough are very different. Spike is when they go up, the trough is when it comes down in your insulin levels. We want to keep those insulin levels as balanced out, so when we eat these slow digesting carbs, you don't get that fast peak and that fast trough, okay? So slow digesting carbs, I just mentioned a couple there. Very easy to do a Google search on slow digesting carbs. Start incorporating these into your kids' meals because this is going to give them more insulin stability. Thirdly, you want to get excited when they do the right thing. I don't know if this has happened to you, but if you're a parent and you celebrate any little thing they do, they get excited and they want to do more of it, right? And so one of the things I like to do around my house is when my girls, they do something right, I celebrate. I high five them, I congratulate them. I say, oh, you're such a big girl, that's amazing. You're growing up, look at you, you're so strong. And I start to edify them, and you can just see their faces light up. So anytime I see them eating healthy, anytime I see them exercising, because sometimes they'll come in to wherever I'm working out, you see them doing jumping jacks and trying to do push-ups, I'm encouraging them, I'm edifying them, right? Because what I want to do is I actually want to reward that positive behavior, right? So we want to reward those positive behaviors. And there's a really interesting way that I held last here for you as a last pointer that I think brings a lot of value. And recently we've been doing it around our household, and it's paid amazing dividends for us. And so I want to share that with you, and it's called a bribe, right? A healthy bribe. My wife recently, she made me aware of this chart, right? And this chart you see here is called the reward chart pad. I'm going to put a link in the description below. I have no affiliate association with this company whatsoever, but it's brought value to us. So I wanted to share it with you. And the chart, the reward chart, looks like this, right? You have a task here, right? And you have all the days of the week here, right? So in the back, you have some little stickers. See if we can find these stickers. You have some little stickers there that you can add that say different things. So that one task, right, can be eating healthy. So if they healthy on Sunday, you give them a sticker. Monday, you give them a sticker. The days that they don't eat well, right, you also want to make sure that you let them know, hey, you didn't eat well, and there's a sticker there that says, you know, needs improvement or can do better, right? And they start to really enjoy this whole activity. It has a magnet behind so you can stick it to your fridge. And my friend, let me tell you, these little things, these little tricks, these little hacks start to really get your kids motivated and enthusiastic about doing the right thing. You can do that with proper nutrition. You can do that with behavior. You can do that with all sorts of situations inside of your household and really start to edify your family. And more importantly, I'm encouraged by that scripture that says that a righteous man leaves an inheritance for his kids, not just for his kids, but for his grandchildren as well. When we hear this, we automatically go to finances, but this goes beyond finances. This talks about values and principles and good habits. And so that's how we want to impact our kids and generations to come. I don't know about you, but that's exciting to me. I hope it is to you. I hope you got something out of this video. These are videos that I love to do, videos that empower your mind, your body, and your spirit. I hope you enjoyed this video. More importantly, I hope you take action on these things. Please ask me any questions, leave some comments down below. If we're not family and you haven't subscribed to this channel yet, please do so you can catch more videos like this. And if you enjoyed this video, you're absolutely going to love this one here. JT Tapias with the Empty Your Bucket Nutrition Plan. Thank you for watching. Talk to you soon. Ciao, ciao.